aches and all sorts of ailments and can't sleep at night simply because you're struggling with something and the good life is going away. And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about God is with you. God's going to help you. Think about your blessings, and especially this time of the year, and be glad you're not a turkey. You think some have it pretty bad, you know. But remember to focus upon what you can do with God's help to enjoy your life and have a good life. I mentioned to you back several weeks ago. How many weeks have I been here, Judy? Is this fourth week? Fourth week? Time flies. I told the DS I wasn't going to be here 7 months this time. But that's in God's hands too, isn't it? But I told you a few weeks ago that when I pastored here, I always consider myself kind of one of these jocks. You know, I like to play ball and do things like that. Jim Harris, you remember we had a good softball team, didn't we? Sam, you played with us. Bob, you played with us. Anybody else? You had a good bowling team here too that bowled on Saturday night. But we won the church league one year, didn't we, Jim? Remember that? We brought this real nice trophy. You know, and we're out there playing against these churches that had a lot more players to pick from than what we did. But we brought home that one year, we won the entire church league out of like 12 or 14 churches. And I enjoyed that. I can't do that anymore. But I enjoyed that, and I paid a price for that. Here a couple years ago, I had to have rotator cuff surgery. I pitched too much softball in my young years. But I joined the YMCA when I pastored here, and I would go out at noon and play basketball with some of the more renowned men in town. I didn't know at the time that one of them was the richest man in DeKalb County. You know, you get out on the ball field and or out on the ball court, basketball court, and you just you buddy up and you play and you just have a good time. And there were two preachers, and there were a couple doctors and lawyer, and then the richest man in town. I didn't know it at the time. I found it out later. And I found it out in a very unique way, so I know what I'm saying. But there was one young fellow who played with us most days, and one day after we had finished our game and showered, I asked him if he would like to go down to the restaurant and get something to drink, maybe have a sandwich or something. And he said to me, he said, "Well, Dave," he said, "I'm sorry I can't go. I have to go back up to the hospital for chemo treatment." And I was just shocked. A chemo treatment? I said, I didn't know that you were having a problem or taking treatment. Because you see, he always had a smile on his face. He never complained. You'd never know that there was anything wrong. So he continued to talk about his treatment since I'd opened the door. And he said, well, I go 3 times a week for chemo treatment. He said, this is my second battle with cancer. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'll be praying for you. Well, you know, a few months after that, I asked him about it. Didn't want to talk all the time about it when we were together, but I asked him about it. I said, well, how's it going? And he said, the doctor has given me a clean bill of health, and the cancer is gone. And I saw him not so long ago in one of the businesses here in town, and he's doing great. But you know, I couldn't help but wonder, couldn't help but think, did the smile on his face and his attitude towards his debilitating disease have something to do with the fact that God rewarded him with clear health? You know, we have a lot to be thankful for. We don't know what others are going through. But I can guarantee you this, if you keep a smile on your face, focus on living the good life, enjoy your life, develop patience, develop long-suffering, develop all those virtues and all those things that are written there in 1 Corinthians 13. Ask the Lord to do that for you, to bring those things to bear in your heart. God will help you when you go through the difficult times. Bible says weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And I'm taking this a little bit out of context, what Jesus said when he said that no man can snatch you out of my hand. What's that mean? That means no sickness, no problem, no enemy is too great or too powerful. If God be for you and God is holding you in the palm of his hand, there is nothing that you will come against but what you can be victorious. But you need to practice every day the right kind of attitude. I even had a secular boss over at Tallman Bank in Chicago, where I worked for a few years. He didn't even attend church, but he made the statement one time to those of us who were in the meeting. He said, if you have the right kind of attitude, and he was talking about a positive attitude, don't look on the dark side, always believe on the good things that are going to come into your life. He said, if you have the right kind of attitude, there's something built into human nature that brings good things to bear in your life. Little did he know that's a biblical principle too, isn't it? When we have the right kind of attitude and focus on the right things. There was a man who lived in the 1800s whose name was Horatio Spafford. He was a wealthy lawyer and businessman. His story is not a success story the way we would term a story to be. But there was a great tragedy in his life, and let me share with you in closing his life story of how he handled that and how God blessed him and blessed through him, even right down to our present day, those of us who are here. His wife and his 4 daughters embarked on a voyage to England on a huge ship. And the ship collided with another ship, and all 4 of Spafford's daughters lost their lives, along with more than 200 other passengers on that ship. His wife sent a message back across the sea, having to inform him of the horrific tragedy that had taken place. Immediately, he bought a ticket to get on another ship to go back over to England to be with his wife and grieve together. As he was on his journey back across the Atlantic, they came to a spot where the captain of the ship said, here's where that great accident occurred. And the captain said to him, here is where your 4 daughters lost their lives. Horatio Spafford stood there on the deck of the ship, and he looked very solemnly into that cold, deep abscess and thought about how much he loved his daughters and what a tragedy it was. He went back to his room on the ship following those solemn moments of standing there, grieving. He picked up a pen and he wrote the words to one of the most beloved hymns of the Christian faith. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, you have taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Life may have thrown you some curves. Be thankful that it's well with your soul. All of your dreams may not have worked out, but be thankful that it is well with your soul.